The galaxy trembled on the day the Deathworld Alliance gathered for the emergency summit, because everyone, from molten world titans to frozen planet giants, felt a pressure in the air that did not belong to normal space. A pressure so heavy it made even the strongest Deathworlders breathe slower, as if something ancient was watching them from the darkness. These were not peaceful species. They were monsters shaped by cruel worlds where storms sliced mountains apart, where oceans boiled without warning, where gravity crushed bones for fun, where evolution demanded brutality just to wake up every morning. Their soldiers walked like tanks wearing armor thicker than starship hulls, their eyes glowing with the cold confidence of predators who feared nothing. Yet today, every single one of them looked afraid. The holoscreen floating in the center of the massive chamber repeated one haunting image. A giant ship drifting motionless in the dark side of the Kayla Rift, so massive it blocked starlight like an eclipsing moon, its black metal surface covered in strange dim symbols that flickered like sleeping eyes. No crew, no heat signatures, no engine trails, no origin, no known design, nothing. And still, every scanner in the region screamed warnings the moment they tried to read its power levels. Warnings so intense they forced entire systems into lockdown. One Deathworlder slammed his armored fist on the stone table, cracking it like fragile glass despite it being carved from neutron rock, and shouted with trembling rage, "We are Deathworlders. We fear nothing. So what is this?" But no one answered, because the truth was simple and terrifying. Nobody knew. The Molten World warlords stared at the image with eyes that had seen lava oceans swallow civilizations, and even they whispered in fear. The frost giants from Nar-12, whose hearts beat in sub-zero temperatures, felt sweat forming under their armor. Poison breath hunters from Vareth, 9 tightened their venom masks, as if preparing for death. The insectoid tacticians clicked their mandibles in panic. Spaces between species that once hated each other felt suddenly too small, too fragile, too alive with dread. The image of the ship kept looping, kept staring back, kept silently judging all of them. And then, the doors slid open, breaking the suffocating silence. Earth had arrived. Unlike the monstrous figures of the other Deathworlds, humans walked in quietly, wearing simple armor, nothing glowing, nothing intimidating, just ordinary-looking Terrans with calm faces that somehow deepened the fear in the room. The human commander stepped forward, a normal-sized man, no extra limbs, no glowing marks, no monstrous armor. Yet every species silently made space for him. Humans were considered the softest Deathworlders, the weakest, the most fragile. Their bones broke easily. Their skin tore. Their bodies overheated. Their lifespan was shorter. And yet, no one questioned their place in the Alliance, because humans had a way of surviving everything. The human commander glanced at the screen, and a strange stillness filled the hall, a stillness so intense that even the frost giants stopped breathing. He studied the ship for several long seconds. Calm, cold, focused. Then he whispered something that froze the blood of every species present. "This ship is not unknown." The room erupted in confusion. Deathworld generals roared in shock. Psychic Deathworlders screamed in fear. The human commander finally raised his voice. Low, trembling, almost breaking. "This ship is one of ours." Silence struck the hall like a hammer. For a moment it felt like every heartbeat in the galaxy stopped. The monstrous reptilian general's jaw dropped, trembling. "One of yours. Humans built that." The human commander nodded slowly, grief tightening his face. "A long time ago. In an age we buried. In a war we barely survived." The insectoid queen clicked in panic. "Why does it awaken now?" The commander swallowed hard, pain visible in his expression. He tapped the holoscreen. Ancient human warnings, classified for thousands of years, flashed red across the chamber walls. "Do not approach." HFY Protocol. Last stand system activated. Enemy return detected. The Deathworld Alliance froze. Even the strongest among them stepped back. The human commander looked up, eyes dark with a fear older than the Alliance itself. "If this ship has awakened," he paused, breath shaking, "then Earth's last stand has begun." The chamber erupted into chaos, but beneath that noise, every species felt the same icy truth crawling through their bones. If humans were afraid, then the galaxy was already too late. The moment the human commander spoke those final words, a cold shockwave of silence spread across the entire chamber. A silence so heavy that even the humming engines of the council station seemed to fade away, as if the universe itself leaned in to listen. Every Deathworlder stood frozen, their monstrous bodies stiff with fear, their battle-hardened instincts screaming that something far older and far more dangerous than any of them had returned. The reptilian general's throat swelled as he tried to speak, but only a broken whisper escaped. Last stand? What enemy could force humans to build a ship like that? The human commander didn't answer immediately. He stared at the holoscreen as if he were looking at an old ghost. No, not a ghost, a nightmare. His eyes were not scared for himself. They were scared for the galaxy. We buried that history, he said softly, voice shaking. Even from our allies. Even from our own children. We locked it in archives that no one has opened for thousands of years because we prayed it would never return. The frost giant stepped forward, his armor coated in thin cracks of ice that formed from fear rather than cold. Tell us, he demanded. What was humanity hiding? The commander inhaled deeply, his chest rising with the weight of memories he never wanted to revisit. Earth once faced extinction, he began. Not the small kind. Not a war. Not a plague. Not a meteor. His voice dropped lower. Something came out of the dark. Something we couldn't identify. Something that moved between stars like shadows. Something that devoured entire systems without sending a message, without speaking, without leaving anything behind except glass and dust. A shiver ran through the entire chamber. Even the fireborn hounds from the molten worlds dimmed their flames. We called them the Silence, the commander whispered. Because wherever they arrived, silence followed. The insectoid queen clicked nervously, her many eyes blinking in irregular fear. But you defeated them. The commander shook his head slowly. No, we survived them. That difference, between victory and survival, pierced every Deathworlder like a spear. Humans had not won. They had only lived long enough to run. The commander continued, voice trembling as old memories clawed their way back. Earth's leaders knew humanity could not survive a second attack. So they built something monstrous. Something desperate. A ship designed to fight alone if needed. A ship that could burn planets if it had to. He pointed at the massive shadow on the screen. Echian 01. A hush fell. Fear deepened. The molten world captain growled, armor plates rattling violently. Then why was it abandoned? The commander closed his eyes. Because we thought the Silence were gone. The frost giant's breath turned to mist as he whispered, and now? The commander's shoulders shook. His hands curled into fists. His voice cracked like it broke something inside him. Echian 01 only awakens when it detects the same threat returning. The entire chamber recoiled in horror. Monstrous warriors stepped back. Venom hunters choked on their own breath. Psychic Deathworlders clutched their heads in agony as ancient fear echoed through human memory. The commander's voice became quiet, trembling, painfully honest. This means the Silence are coming back. The reptilian general slammed his claw down again, this time out of pure terror. Then why does the ship not answer our hails? Why does it not acknowledge us? We are Deathworlders like you. Because, the commander whispered, Echian 01 does not trust anyone. Gasps erupted across the room. It was created in humanity's darkest hour. It was taught only one rule: protect Earth. Everything else can be sacrificed. The frost giants all stepped back at once. The molten warriors roared in disbelief. The insectoid tacticians clicked in panic. You mean, yes, the commander whispered. Echian 01 may target us. And then the holoscreen flickered. Static crackled. A new message appeared. A warning. Old Terran text written in red, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The entire chamber erupted in screams. IT is scanning US. IT thinks we're the enemy. We have done nothing. The commander stood still. Too still. Because he knew this moment would come. Echian did not care about alliances. It did not care about treaties. It did not care about history. It was made to protect humans from extinction, even if that meant exterminating everything else. The hologram flickered again. The Deathwelders looked around wildly. Test? What test? The human commander felt his throat dry up. It's measuring your threat level, he whispered. By provoking you. The Molten Hound roared. If we fail this test, the commander finished the sentence. It will destroy us. And in that suffocating moment, the impossible happened. The giant ship on the holoscreen turned its colossal hull directly toward the council station. Slowly, silently, like a god deciding where to place its judgment. Every Deathwelder, no matter how strong, no matter how fierce, felt fear carve itself into their bones. The commander stared at the screen with hollow eyes. It's looking at us. A hush fell. Death held its breath. The commander whispered the final truth no one wanted to hear. Echian-01 has awakened. And it wants to know if Earth has any allies worth trusting. The moment Echian-01 turned its colossal hull toward the council station, the entire chamber felt like the air had been sucked out of reality itself, as if the universe suddenly forgot to breathe, as if every star nearby dimmed under the weight of what was coming. Deathwelders, beings who stood tall against lava storms, gravity disasters, ice hurricanes, toxic oceans, now trembled like frightened children as the impossible ship aligned directly with them. The reptilian general, usually a roaring mountain of muscle, now whispered with a shaking voice he no longer controlled. It is staring at us, because that was exactly how it felt. Not scanning, not observing, staring, watching, evaluating, judging, as if each Deathwelder in the hall was a threat that needed to be measured and possibly erased. The human commander felt the weight the most. His breath shook. His chest tightened. He knew this ship. He knew the legends. Echian-01 did not point itself at anything it didn't intend to test or destroy. The holoscreen flickered again, lines of ancient Terran text rippling like waves of doom across the chamber walls. Echian-01. Threat analysis. Phase 1 testing non-human reaction provoke. Observe. Predict. The frost giant slammed his fist on the ground, cracking the metal floor beneath his enormous bulk. Provoke. What is it going to do? But the commander did not answer, because he already saw the next line before anyone else did, and horror spread across his face before he could hide it. Echian-01. Deploying signal NO, he whispered softly, almost pleading with the screen. Not this. Not here. A hum spread through the chamber. A deep, low-frequency vibration that slipped into every bone, every muscle, every thought. It wasn't loud. It was far worse. It was subtle. Quiet enough to ignore at first, but deep enough to plant fear like a seed inside every mind. The reptilian soldiers suddenly stiffened. The insectoid tacticians clicked uncontrollably. The venom breathers' masks fogged up as their hearts raced. The frost giants felt their skin crack under stress. Even the molten warriors dimmed as if their inner flames were being smothered. What is happening to us? The insectoid queen gasped, clutching her thorax. The commander swallowed hard. It's reading your instincts. This vibration, it activates your fight or flight. The frost giant growled, gripping the edge of the table so tightly it snapped like dry paper. It is forcing us to react. Yes, the commander whispered painfully. Because Echian only trusts species who can control themselves even under fear. The molten captain roared in agony. We are Deathwelders. We are made of fear and fire. Exactly, the commander said. It expects you to panic. And if you do, the chamber lights suddenly dimmed to black. Every Deathwelder reached for their weapon. Every instinct screamed danger. Every heartbeat pounded like war drums. In the darkness, the holoscreen lit again. One single message glowing blood red. Failure equals termination. A wave of horror swept across the chamber like a freezing wind. The venom breathers collapsed to their knees. The insectoids began shaking violently. The frost giants trembled from head to toe. The molten warriors punched the floor just to stay conscious. And then, a sound echoed through the darkness. A single metallic click. The kind that meant something was waking up. The kind that meant something vast had moved. The chamber flickered with emergency lights as new text appeared. Echian-01. Opening primary eye, the frost giant whispered in terror. Primary eye? The commander's voice broke. It's not a weapon. It's worse. The holoscreen changed. The entire chamber gasped. Because on the screen, the Titan ship's massive front section began to split open, metal unfolding like petals of a nightmare flower until a giant circular structure was revealed. An enormous, ancient lens that began to glow with a deep, terrifying blue light. The primary eye was not a cannon. It was a scanner. A scanner capable of reading the soul of a species. A scanner that measured intent, truth, and fear. And once it judged, there was no escape. The human commander staggered back as the blue beam ignited, flooding space with a blinding pulse that shook the council station to its core. No, no, no. Not on full power, he shouted. But Echian did not care. The beam fired. It hit the station like a silent shockwave, knocking Deathworlders off their feet, sending frost giants stumbling, making molten hounds cry out, insectoids collapse, venom breathers scream inside their masks. It felt like the beam reached inside their minds, tearing open every memory they ever wanted to hide. Every guilt, every fear, every instinct, every violent thought. And then, it stopped. The blue light vanished. The chamber fell completely silent. Every Deathworlder panted for breath, shaking, broken, exhausted, yet alive. The commander stood trembling, waiting for the next message. The holoscreen flickered. Then text appeared, Echian-01. Phase 1 result. Non-human threat level, 49%. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. The reptilian general scales trembled violently. We barely passed, barely. The commander agreed, voice hoarse. But then something else appeared on the screen. A new message. One that made the human commander's heart stop cold. Echian-01. Requesting Terran Authority searching. Searching. No current human leader detected proceeding to Phase 2. The chamber shook. The commander fell to his knees. No, it's escalating. The frost giant grabbed him by the shoulder. What is Phase 2? The human commander lifted his head slowly, eyes filled with a terror deeper than the void itself. Phase 2 is when Echian stops testing and starts preparing for war. The lights flickered. The screen turned red. And the next message appeared, dripping with doom. Echian-01. Summoning human cruise arching 4 survivors. The commander's heart froze. It can't be, there are no survivors. But then, the screen pulsed. The entire chamber shook. The message updated. 1 human survivor detected. Every Deathworlder snapped toward the commander. Shock, terror, hope, confusion. The commander's face went pale. No, the message completed. Identity, confirmed. Location, council station. Silence. Then, Echian-01. Human captain found. Preparing to lock on. The commander whispered, "It's coming for me." Epic cliffhanger. The words "it's coming for me" had barely escaped the human commander's mouth when the entire council station shuddered with a deep, grinding vibration that felt like a monster dragging its claws along the hull. A vibration so heavy and ancient that every Deathworlder in the chamber instinctively stepped back as if the very metal beneath their feet were about to split open. Panic erupted instantly. The reptilian general grabbed the commander's arm with trembling claws. "What does it want with you?" But the human looked hollow, as if all blood had drained from his face. Echian-01 was designed to obey only one type of person, he whispered. Its captain. Its last living commander. The frost giant's eyes widened with disbelief. You? You are its captain? The human shook his head violently. No. I wasn't even born when this ship was made. The captains of the Echian program died thousands of years ago. The chamber fell silent, until the human added the words that broke every voice around him. Which means the ship thinks I'm their descendant. A cold shock tore through the Deathworlders. Even the molten warriors felt the heat inside their bodies flicker. Descendants of the original Earth Guardians were supposed to be long extinct, but the ship had identified him. And that meant only one thing: Echian-01 had chosen him. Suddenly, the lights of the chamber flickered as a thunderous pulse shook the asteroid station. The holoscreen blazed to life with a map of space, showing the massive titan of a ship changing direction, thrusters awakening across its colossal hull like sleeping beasts opening their burning eyes. Echian-01. Locking onto human captain. Warp calculation. 94%. The insectoid queen screamed, "It's coming here. It's coming to take him." The human commander staggered backward, eyes wide, fear and duty tearing him apart. "If it reaches me, it will force link with my neural pattern and take full activation. Once that happens," his voice cracked, "it will launch the Last Stand protocol." The frost giant's chest tightened. "And what is that?" The commander's eyes filled with pain. "A total war directive. Echian will assume the silence are returning. It will awaken its drones, its cannons, its starkillers, everything." A suffocating dread washed over the hall. "And then?" the molten captain whispered. "And then it will burn any system that stands between it and Earth." The entire hall recoiled in terror. A Deathworld ship, created to save humanity, would destroy worlds like stepping stones if it believed Earth was in danger. The reptilian general roared, "We must escape. Turn off the station." But an alert flashed before anyone could move. Echian-01. Initiating Phase 2 scan. Target, Council Station. Hostile resistance death probability. 98%. Massive explosions shook the outer decks. Not from weapons, but from the ship's gravity wake. Echian-01 was so powerful that space bent around it like cloth being pulled by a giant hand. Windows cracked. Alarms shrieked. Deathwelders dropped to their knees from the sheer gravity pressure. The molten hounds flattened against the floor like metal melting under a forge. The insectoids clung to pillars, their claws scraping against stone. The frost giants roared, struggling to stand. The human commander was the only one still on his feet. Barely. "It's pulling me," he gasped, clutching his chest as invisible force coiled around him like chains of light. "It wants me on board." Suddenly, boom. The entire council chamber went pitch dark. The holoscreen shattered in sparks. Emergency red lights flashed under the floor. And then, all at once, the walls of the chamber lit up with a blinding blue glow as a beam from Echian carved through the station, not as a weapon, but as a doorway. A corridor of pure light connected the ship to the station like a bridge between a god and its chosen servant. The reptilian general screamed, "It's here! It's opening a path!" The beam wrapped itself around the human commander, lifting him off the ground. He struggled, but the light held him gently, almost respectfully, like a parent pulling their child to safety. Tears formed in his eyes from the pain and the terror. "No, please, wait," he whispered. But the ship did not wait. The molten captain tried to pull him down. The frost giant grabbed his legs. The insectoid queen wrapped him with her appendages. All of them, Deathwelders who feared nothing, held onto the human desperately. They didn't want to lose him. They didn't want the ship to activate. They didn't want a war they could never survive. "Don't let it take him," someone screamed. But the beam pushed all of them back with ease. The commander's voice cracked, raw with panic and heartbreak. "Don't follow me. You'll die if you do." The Deathwelders screamed back, "You are our ally. We do not leave allies." His eyes filled with tears. Echian won't understand that. Suddenly, the beam intensified, the human jerked upward. The Deathwelders lost their grip. The commander was pulled into the light. The beam dragged him toward the open corridor of energy. But right before he disappeared into the glowing path, he shouted with all the strength left in his collapsing chest, "If the silence are coming back, tell Earth." His voice broke. The beam swallowed him, and he vanished. The glowing corridor snapped shut instantly like a door slamming in the face of the galaxy. The entire station fell into silent darkness. Then the screen flickered alive with one final message, shaking every Deathwelder to their core. The moment the glowing beam snapped shut and the human commander vanished into the blinding corridor of energy, an emptiness fell over the chamber so heavy it felt like a grave had suddenly opened beneath the station. No one spoke. No one breathed. Even the flickering emergency lights seemed frozen in fear. Deathwelders, creatures born from hellish planets where survival itself was a daily war, stood trembling like fragile beings as the last message from Echian-01 burned across the ruined holoscreen. Full activation begun. Last Stand Protocol initiated. A deep, distant hum rolled through space like the heartbeat of a sleeping god awakening after thousands of years. A sound that sank into bones, twisted nerves, and made every Deathworld warlord feel like a small, helpless child standing before something ancient and merciless. The molten captain slammed his fist into the wall, lava dripping from his knuckles. "We have to get him back," he roared. But his voice lacked the usual fire. It cracked, with fear, with grief, with the painful truth that none of them wanted to speak aloud. The frost giant gripped the shattered table, his massive hands shaking so violently that ice cracked and exploded around him. We cannot reach that ship," he whispered. "Echian-01 is beyond us." The insectoid queen shook her head, mandibles rattling as she clicked. "If it fully activates, if it believes the silence have returned, it will unleash weapons meant to destroy stars." The reptilian general turned toward the massive screen, staring at the dark silhouette of Echian-01 as it prepared to warp. "But what," he whispered, "does it need the human for?" Before anyone could speak, the screen flickered again, this time showing the inside of the Titan ship. A long metallic corridor. Dim blue lights. Massive structures breathing with energy like sleeping lungs. And in the center of it all lay the human commander, unconscious, floating in midair as the ship scanned his entire body with lines of pure light. The Deathwelders leaned closer. The frost giant whispered, "It is reading him." The ship responded with a message. Human neural signature confirmed. Ancient DNA match, 92%. Captain's bloodline identified. A collective gasp echoed. The molten captain stepped back as if struck. He truly is the descendant. The insectoid queen clicked rapidly, wings fluttering with panic. But that means the ship will bind to him, forever. The frost giant closed his eyes tightly. He will not be a commander, his voice cracked. He will become the ship's heart. Suddenly the image changed again, showing dozens of giant cables rising like serpents, curling toward the commander's limbs, spine, neck, skull. The Deathwelders screamed, "Stop it! He will die! IT will consume him!" But the worst part, the part that broke them, was that the commander slowly opened his eyes. He was awake. He could hear them. And he looked calm. Too calm. Like he had already accepted something the rest of the galaxy wasn't ready for. He whispered into the dark corridor, voice trembling with sorrow and duty. "If this is the only way, then let it be me." The molten captain pounded the screen in agony. "Human, don't you dare." The commander smiled weakly, tears forming. "If Echian activates without a human soul inside it, it will destroy everything." The frost giant shook violently. "Then let us help." The commander's eyes softened. "You already have, just by standing with us." And then, the cables struck. Not violently, not painfully, but like threads of light weaving into his nerves. His back arched. His scream echoed across the ship. The Deathwelders screamed with him. The cables connected. His heartbeat synced with the ship. The lights around him turned blue, the same blue as the primary eye that had scanned the station. His voice trembled as he whispered, "I can feel it. Echian is alive," the reptilian general roared. "We will save you." But the commander shook his head slowly, gently, with a sad smile that felt like a farewell. "You cannot board this ship. You would be killed before you reached the airlock." Suddenly the screen shook violently. Not from the ship, but from space. The alarms across the station exploded with sound. The frost giant turned toward the window, and his heart stopped. Outside the station, the Kayla rift had begun to twist. Not like a storm, not like gravity, but like a wound opening. Space bent inward. Stars vanished behind darkness. And then the sensors lit up with a horrifying message. Anomaly detected. Multiple signatures. Unknown organic structures. The insectoid queen whispered the word everyone feared. The silence, in the screen. The commander's eyes widened as he felt something through the ship's awakening neural link. No, it's not just the silence. His breathing quickened. It's worse. His heartbeat synced with the ship's pulse. These are scouts. The molten captain froze. Scouts! The commander nodded, dread filling his face. If the scouts are here, the full swarm is not far behind. The frost giant collapsed to his knees, terror in his icy eyes. We are doomed. The commander shook his head. And for the first time since being captured by the ship, his expression changed. The fear vanished. The despair vanished. Something else replaced it: resolve, rage, humanity. He whispered through the neural link, voice trembling but strong, Ekian, release full power. The entire ship responded with a pulse that rattled the chamber walls. And the final message flashed across the screen. Last stand protocol. True activation. Human captain accepted. Preparing for war. The human commander whispered one final line before the feed cut. Deathwelders, get your fleets ready. Humanity is not facing this alone. The moment the commander whispered, prepare for war, something shifted inside the giant ship. An awakening so powerful it felt like the bones of the universe were cracking open. The Deathwelders watched through the trembling holoscreen as Ekian-01 lit up from within. Blue veins of ancient power spreading across its hull like a titan drawing its first breath after centuries of sleep. The entire station shook under the pressure wave. Even the strongest warriors felt their knees weaken as a deep, thunderous pulse echoed through space. A pulse that sounded like the beating heart of a world-sized beast that had been waiting far too long to be released. The molten captain clung to a support beam, molten tears dripping from his eyes. The ship, it's alive, the frost giant whispered. It is waking, fully waking. And inside that ancient titan, the human commander felt everything. His mind was no longer a mind. It was a star map, a battlefield, a living storm, a wounded planet, a 1,000-year-old promise. He could see through the ship's eyes, feel through its armor, breathe through its engines. He felt its pain, its anger, its loneliness, its duty. He felt the ghost echoes of the original captains who had died screaming as the silence devoured Earth's outer colonies. He felt the memories of those who sacrificed themselves to build this impossible war machine. He felt the weight of 10,000 years of fear. And beneath it all, one message pulsed like a scar in the ship's core. Protect humanity at all costs. The commander gasped as the cables tightened gently around his spine and skull, not hurting him, holding him, steadying him, supporting him like a mother holding a child. Outside the ship, the Kayla rift twisted violently. Darkness swirled. Space folded inward. A low, rumbling roar echoed through the void like the death cry of a collapsing star. The insectoid queen clutched her chest. They're coming through. She wasn't wrong. One by one, enormous shapes emerged from the rift. Organic ships made of black chitin and living muscle, with glowing red eyes like predators scanning for prey. Silent scouts. 6, 8, 12. Then dozens. Then scores. Their bodies wriggled and pulsed as if they were breathing the darkness around them. The frost giant's breath froze midair. There are too many, the reptilian general snarled in panic. We cannot face all of that. Even we will die. But inside Ekian, the commander whispered, voice now fused with the Titan's deep resonance. No, you won't die, not today. His heartbeat synced completely with the ship's core. Suddenly, the feed flickered. The commander's voice grew deeper, echoing through the chamber as if he was speaking from inside a star. Deathwelders, listen to me. Every warrior straightened. Every monster bowed its head. Every soldier quieted. Even the molten hounds lowered their flames in respect. The commander continued, breathing slowly, each word echoing with energy. This ship was made for humanity's final breath. But humanity is not alone anymore. A pulse of light shot across the ship's exterior. And I will not let this galaxy fall the way our colonies once fell. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with a rising storm. So hear me. Stand together. Because if Earth has a last stand, the lights inside Ekian exploded with color. Then you, AI, our allies. The ship roared to life. The entire hull blazed with blue energy. Massive cannons unfolded like the arms of a god ripping open the sky. Turrets the size of buildings retracted their locks. Wings made of hard light extended from the sides, glowing like burning suns. The molten captain staggered back, breathless. By all the stars, this is not a ship, the frost giant whispered, trembling. This is a weapon of extinction. HFY's engines ignited. Not with fire, not with plasma, but with something older, something lost, something so powerful that the Kayla rift itself bent away from the shockwave. In the chamber, alarms blared across the station. Words flashed in ancient Terran script, Ekian 01. Full power enabled. Primary arsenal online. Target. Silence swarmed. The human commander sucked in a shaking breath as the ship's enormous cannons aligned with the rift, each barrel glowing brighter and brighter, heat and energy swirling like newborn stars being crushed into bullets. Commander, the reptilian general called, voice breaking, "You'll die if you fire that." The commander smiled, a soft, almost peaceful smile filled with painful acceptance. "If I die but save the galaxy, then let that be my fate." "No." The Death Welders roared together. "You are not dying for us." The molten captain slammed his fist on the floor. "We fight with you." The frost giant bellowed. "We will not let you stand alone." The insectoid queen screamed, "We are Deathworlds, we do not run." The human commander closed his eyes, his voice cracking. "Thank you." Then his voice merged with the ship completely, and the Titan spoke for the first time in 10,000 years, Ekian 01, firing. A blinding explosion of blue light shot across the dark void, like lightning-like creation, like the wrath of a forgotten god. The blast hit the silent scouts, and space itself tore open. The rift screamed, the swarm shook, the galaxy froze, and every Deathwelder felt one thing. Humanity's last stand had truly begun. The beam Ekian 01 fired tore through the darkness like the fist of an ancient god waking from a grave, ripping the silent scouts apart so violently that their bodies disintegrated into clouds of burning fragments, their red eyes flickering out one by one like candles seized by a storm. But the blast did more than destroy, it announced something to the entire galaxy, a message carved into the very fabric of space. Humanity is not dead. Humanity does not run. Humanity will fight. The explosion shook star systems, bent gravity, sent shockwaves across the Kayla rift so powerful that even the Deathworld ships far behind the station trembled as if struck by invisible hands. Yet for all the destruction, for all the light, for all the power, there was no victory. Because out of the burning ashes, out of the collapsing shadow, out of the dying light, the rift began to pulse again. The frost giant stepped forward, voice shaking uncontrollably. "No, more of them. More of them are coming through." The insectoid queen screamed in terror. The blast didn't stop them, it only woke them. The molten captain slammed his fist into the metal floor so hard molten cracks spread like glowing veins. By the stars! That was Ekian's full power. Why didn't they die? Inside the Titan ship, the commander felt the same thing the Deathwelders felt, but stronger. Through the neural link, he sensed the rift beginning to widen, the darkness stretching, tearing, bleeding into real space. The ship whispered inside his head. More targets detected. Scouts were minor entities. The true swarm approaches. A horrible chill ran through his veins. "Minor," he whispered. "That was minor." Outside, the Kayla rift twisted open like a wounded beast screaming across the void. Shadows spilled out, massive, living ships the size of small moons, each one carrying thousands of red glowing eyes, each body pulsing like insect hives wrapped in armor. The frost giant fell to his knees. This is hopeless." The reptilian general gripped his chest. "This is not a battle. This is extermination." The molten captain whispered, "Commander, can Ekian stop them?" Inside the Titan, the human swallowed hard. His voice cracked. "No, not alone." The ship pulsed inside his mind. "Human captain, do not fear. Humanity is never alone." Alliance detected. Coordinate fleet's tears pricked at the commander's eyes. The ship, this ancient, terrifying creation, had learned something in the short time since waking. It had learned trust. Deathwelders, The commander whispered into the open channel, voice trembling. "Listen to me, all of you." Every monstrous warrior froze. Every ship in orbit turned toward his voice. Every Deathworld soldier held their breath. "You survived your planets. We survived ours. Now, we survive together." An emotional silence spread across the hall. Then Ekian connected all fleet systems, tactical, radar, shields, into a single shared network. A giant hologram unfolded across the station, linking every allied vessel, every defensive grid, every cannon. For the first time in history, Deathworld fleets united as one. The molten captain wiped molten tears from his cheeks and screamed, "We fight with humanity." The insectoid queen clicked fiercely, "We will shatter the silence." The frost giant bellowed, "Deathworlds stand as one." But before the triumphant cry could rise any higher, the Kayla rift tore open fully, and everything went silent. Because what came through next was not a swarm, not scouts, not soldiers, but a colossal shape so massive it blocked out the entire star field. A living planet-sized leviathan with millions of glowing red eyes across its monstrous body, its carapace covered in the bones of dead civilizations, its maw stretching open like a black hole. The Silence Prime. The thing that had once hunted Earth. The thing humanity built Ekian to stop. The chamber collapsed into pure terror. The reptilian general whispered, voice broken, "That thing destroyed Earth's first colonies." The frost giant trembled violently. "It devoured 5-star clusters in 1 week." The insectoid queen choked. We cannot win against that." Inside the Titan ship, the commander felt the creature's presence like a hurricane slamming into his mind. His skull throbbed. His vision blurred. His heart nearly stopped. ECHION's alarms screamed through his thoughts. Prime entity detector danger. Extinction-level human captain at risk. The Leviathan opened its massive maw, and space bent around its star's dimmed gravity collapsed like it was trying to swallow the entire sector in a single breath. The commander screamed inside the neural link, pain shooting through his veins as if his nerves were catching fire. Deathwelders screamed in horror as ships were dragged toward the creature. "It's pulling us in. Reverse engines. We're not moving. We'll be eaten alive." The human commander's breath shook violently. "Ekian, help them." The Titan responded with a pulse that shook reality itself. Countergravity field deployed. A massive burst of blue energy exploded from ECHION's core, slamming into the gravity well of the Silence Prime, pushing it back just enough to free the Deathworld fleets. But the cost was immediate. The commander screamed as blood dripped from his nose and eyes. Cables shook around him. His heartbeat faltered. His mind swirled. The ship poured unimaginable power through his nervous system. The frost giant saw the scan readings and roared, "He can't hold that. He'll die." The insectoid queen cried, "Stop the link. Stop it." But the commander, through the pain, whispered one last trembling sentence, "If humanity dies, the galaxy dies." And then, with all his strength, he forced the ship to ignite its engines and rush forward, directly at the Silence Prime. The Deathwelders screamed his name. The galaxy held its breath. And inside the ship, as he felt consciousness slipping away, the commander whispered to the Titan, "Not yet. I'm not done." As Ekian 01 hurled itself toward the Silence Prime, the galaxy seemed to stop spinning, time stretching thin like glass about to shatter, every star in the sector dimming beneath the unimaginable weight of the ancient Leviathan blocking out the cosmos. The creature's countless red eyes flickered, turning toward the Titan ship like a god recognizing the one weapon it failed to destroy thousands of years ago. A low, nightmarish vibration rolled through the void, a sound so deep it made entire fleets tremble, a roar that carried memories of dead civilizations and burning galaxies. The Deathwelders watched in frozen terror as Ekian flew straight into the creature's gravity field, engines screaming, metal glowing, the human commander barely conscious inside the neural cradle. The molten captain slammed his fists on the console in agony. He can't survive that. The frost giant shook violently, eyes filled with heartbreak. He's giving everything. The insectoid queen's voice cracked, "Let us help him. Let us fight." But inside Echian, the human commander heard none of them. He heard only the ship. And the ship heard only him. Their hearts had fused. Their minds had merged. Their fears had become one. The ship whispered inside his skull, not with metal, but with something almost human. "You are hurting, you are breaking, stop." His breath trembled. I can't stop. WHY the ship asked gently. The commander coughed hard, blood sliding down his lips. "Because Earth trusted us. Humanity trusted us. You were built to protect us, and now the whole galaxy is depending on you." The ship's pulse softened, almost like sadness. "I was built for war, you were not. Your body is failing." The commander's voice broke. "Then let me fail, after the galaxy is safe." A long, trembling silence followed. Then the ship answered with a pulse that felt like a promise made of stars. "Then we fight as one outside." The Silence Prime lunged. Its massive claws, each the size of a moon, slashed through space, tearing the void open as it tried to swallow the Titan ship whole. Echian swerved at the last second, engines screaming, energy flares ripping the void behind it. Deathworld fleets fired everything they had: laser storms, nuclear barrages, void torpedoes, gravity disruptors. But nothing even scratched the creature's armor. Its hide was black matter hardened by ages. Its body was a living nightmare built to extinguish suns. Small explosions flashed like sparks against a mountain. The reptilian general roared, "Nothing is working." The frost giant cried out, "We are nothing to it." The molten captain shouted, "Only Echian can kill that thing." And inside the ship, the commander realized the same terrible truth. "Echian," he whispered weakly, "what is our strongest weapon?" The ship's voice deepened. "You cannot survive it." That wasn't the question. A long pause. "The core." The commander stiffened. "The core?" The original Echian crew created a weapon, not a cannon, not a beam, a star. The commander felt his heart drop. A star. A miniature supernova sealed inside the reactor. The galaxy collapsed into silence. The commander whispered, horrified and amazed, "A star inside a ship. You've been carrying this your whole life." IT was never meant to be used, only if there were no other options, only if the silence returned. His breathing grew shallow. "So, we use it." "No, you will die. Everybody dies," he whispered. "But not everybody saves a galaxy." Echian pulsed with panic. "I will not kill my captain." The commander smiled weakly. "You're not killing me. I'm choosing this." The Silence Prime reared back, charging a massive energy sphere in its maw. An energy sphere that grew so bright the Deathworld fleets screamed in terror. "It's going to fire. We can't survive that. Commander, do something." He closed his eyes. "Echian, open the core." Silence. A heartbeat. Then the ship obeyed. Core unlocking inside the Titan. The walls peeled back as if revealing the heart of a god. A blinding sphere of condensed light, a burning caged sun, a supernova waiting for freedom, the last weapon of the ancient Earth. The human commander felt its energy tearing into his nerves, flooding through his blood, searing into his thoughts. His spine arched, his scream echoing through the ship as the star's power tore through him. Outside, ECHION's hull cracked with blinding white light, every panel glowing like the surface of a star. Deathworlders fell silent, awestruck, terrified, humbled. The frost giant whispered, voice breaking, "He's going to kill himself." The insectoid queen sobbed, "His, becoming the weapon." The molten captain whispered with a shaking voice, "Humanity, why do you always sacrifice yourselves?" The commander smiled faintly through the pain, whispering to no one and everyone, "Because someone has to." Then he gave the order. "Echian, detonate the star." The Titan roared. The creature screamed. The galaxy itself seemed to cry out. A blinding white explosion ripped across space. A newborn sun erupting, a star unleashing its fury, a weapon built from the bones of a dying Earth finally fulfilling its purpose. The Silence Prime was swallowed whole. Not burned. Not damaged. Erased. The rift collapsed. Space sealed shut. And then, all light vanished. Silence consumed the battlefield. Deathworlders stared into the fading light where the Titan ship once hovered. Their hearts broke together as the truth settled like ash. Ekian had vanished. The commander was gone. Humanity had made its last stand. A single final message appeared on every ship, written in soft Terran script as the last of the energy faded. Humanity did not die in darkness, we became the light, and the galaxy wept. Final ending.